Hi everyone, this is Frank from targetedtechtalk.com. Today we're going to be bringing you a presentation analysis of an exploit technique called GhostTouch. So we'll be focusing on that for today's presentation. So GhostTouch is a term that was introduced by some security researchers a couple of years ago who developed a proof of concept for the use of electromagnetic interference in order to remotely exploit a touchscreen. So this is definitely a novel type of device attack. I think for the targeted individual population, this is something that we have experienced. And so it's good to kind of understand what's going on and how you can kind of defend yourself from this. So for the general audience, how does this work? So it's based on electromagnetic interference. Researchers basically used an antenna to trigger the touchscreen device. So with no physical touch, they were able to use an antenna in close proximity to the device. I believe they were primarily focused on phones. And you can use multi-select with a technique called beamforming as well. So interference in the analog front end of the touchscreen device leads to the wrong output on the digital side. So the touchscreen is connected to analog sensors, and those feed into a microcontroller, which is fooled by this electromagnetic interference. It basically uses this the antenna static slash electromagnetic interference to simulate the effect of a touch. So it is fooling that analog component that reads the touch with this technique with the antennas. So the researchers' proof of concept used this technique in very close proximity. I believe this exists for some of us in the targeted individual community at much longer distances. So what are some of the scenarios in which this exploit could be used? It can be used to implant malware. So if you have basically any device with a touchscreen, when you have that ability to kind of bypass the network and bypass other controls, interact directly with the touchscreen, you could do things like implanting malware. If we were talking about a phone, it could interfere with text or calls. So those calls or texts could be dropped, contacts blocked or deleted. Outbound calls you didn't make could be triggered with this touchscreen interface. Basically anything you can do through the touchscreen yourself with a phone, this exploit could do or undo. It could allow malicious connections. So a lot of exploits are based on what's called a web shell, and this could open the back door for other types of attacks. It could also be used to delete information on your device, or when you, as a follow-up to one of the previous bullet points, could provide movement within your network once this first door is established. It could also be used to leave false information. So a normal attacker might delete logs to cover the trail. In the targeted individual community, the advanced persistent threats we're dealing with, a lot of times I think they would leave false information to make it look like it's a Wi-Fi attack, or make it look like it's a party that didn't participate in the attack. So how does this fit into the big picture? So it's an unconventional attack vector. Most people don't even know this exists and might question your own perception if you saw something like this. You might think it's just a computer glitch, or it didn't really happen, that kind of thing. And a lot of people would incorrectly assume it's coming in from a different vector like Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. This creates a small localized effect. So it is targeting just your device. It doesn't need to blanket a larger area, and it very much blends in. So this attack occurs at the 120 hertz range, and standard electrical wiring is in the 60 hertz and 120 hertz as well. The second harmonic is a term for that, and that is produced naturally by a lot of components in your electrical system, as well as some appliances and devices on your network will generate 120 hertz. So this attack very much blends in and just looks like background noise. So even if you were trying to actively monitor this with that kind of low hertz, something like a loop antenna, it would really just look like background because you're surrounded by 120 hertz. So that's some of the context here. So what can we do? First step is awareness. So now that we know that this attack is possible, you can kind of mentally prepare yourself as well as defend yourself from this kind of attack. So the first steps might be to identify touchscreen devices that could be susceptible to this. So just kind of mentally make an inventory. Your phone, tablets, could have something on your car, could have thermostat controls, things like that. And then the ones that you would be concerned about, or the things that are potentially being hacked for you, you could think about shielding and grounding as basically the primary countermeasures. So those are the way you deal with electromagnetic interference, is shielding and grounding, basically. So you could use a Faraday bag when the device is not in use. So if it's a phone or tablet or something like that, you could put it in the Faraday bag and or turn it off when not in use. Or if it's something that's not a small device, if it's kind of the touchscreen control of your car, things like that, or a thermostat, you could think about a Faraday cover. So you could use that same material and something like some kind of Velcro or something like that to kind of attach to the cover, so it's removable. You can access the device when you're using it and then cover it up when you're not using it. You might also turn off devices or think of alternatives. So if you're using your phone for your alarm at night, you might think about turning off your phone and then using a traditional alarm clock. That kind of thing would eliminate the possibility of this being used for those time periods. So that's a few things to think about. This is based on some of the feedback and some of the stories that have come out from targeted individuals who have experienced this kind of thing. I've heard this on a call, and kind of correlate that to the research here. So there's some real science that backs up this kind of thing. The proof of concept there from the researchers was at a very short range. They were concerned about electromagnetic interference, and providing the feedback and asking phone manufacturers to be proactive. That kind of shielding they were asking for has not been implemented. So as a general concern, electromagnetic interference as a vector of hacking is out there for this and for other things. Specifically for us in the targeted individual community, we experience advanced electromagnetic environments every day. So this is really not too much of a stretch. And based on kind of the stories and the information others have shared, this matches up with the research and the capabilities of this exploit. So that is today's presentation, and thanks for watching.